So you can say, oh, I said the word because I stopped smoking now, but you don't know what happened to cigarette that you give to your neighbor. It is like that.
Yeah, we can like polish the delete the hashtags and
I think we can replicate the subtitle only, like the introduction and then how the financial sector, but the content we can, yeah, we can elaborate by ourselves without.
just try to understand the causes after they have already happened. And climate change has some effects like that because we have extreme weather events that cannot be predicted, like something like that. And they are called green because they are referred to climate change. I just know that that is the meaning of like the green swan.
Guys, I need to point something else out that came to me just now.
Radical uncertainty, structural inertia, and collective action problem. Okay, the first one is the most stubborn problem, which is investor heterogeneity. Let's be honest that investor it's not like a big happy family. Instead, it's more like a big family during the dinner. Let's say the banker uncle only want to gain the short-term profit while the pension fund grandma it's always worried about the future. Meanwhile, the hedge fund cousin only want to eat dessert right now. So this lack of alignment, of course, create problem. Some of investor still treat ESG like just like the branding exercise for them. It's a bit like green window dressing. But for some others that take it seriously, even including in their financial risk. Meanwhile, for some another group, they think that climate change it's 2050 problem and I will be retired by then. So why I should care right now? Many institutions currently are very proud to announce that their investment excluding like oil sector, gas sector or fuel sector. Meanwhile, they also doesn't realize that they still invest in many sectors that indirectly relate to the carbon, for example, like logistics sector and real estate sector. Many investor and regulator today it's just focus on scope 1 emission only, which is the emission that directly from the manufacturing process, but they also doesn't realize that the scope 3 is the most important. Divestment sounds favorable, right? So just sell our dirty asset and let's move on. But in reality, as the one investor sold their dirty asset, other investor, especially investor that doesn't really care about the climate issues, of course, will directly buy the asset itself. It's more like when you stop smoke, you think that, oh, I saved the environment because now I stop smoking and I give all my cigarette to the neighbor.
Human capital, for example, is how well is the education in your country, and natural capital, how well is the biodiversity in your country. The second part of the definition, an accounting system is green only if changes in its index move in the same direction.
And many countries give their data to these accounts so they can be made. So in that case, there's, for example, especially in Europe, many data points, and you can compare countries by how well they are doing. But that is mostly where it stops. There is
per capita to look at the growth of a country, which is in this graph the red line for the Netherlands. But in this case, I give an example of a green national account which is less well known. It's made by a Dutch scientist, Jan-Pieter Schmidt, and he made a well-being because a lot of factors who are incorporated in the green national accounts are non-market goods. and measuring these might be quite uncertain. One way of measuring the prices of
GDP should not be used to measure well-being because it ignores important factors such as inequality, unpaid work, and environmental damage. But then, GDP goes stuck through historical luggage.
What is the economic value of the things they use, or environmental values? Subjective measurements, on the other hand, they are about a person's belief. For example, taking well-being again, you would look at how satisfied are they with their life over like the past 70 years, give or take. So, for example, review paper by Janssen et al. Last year they reviewed 65 different beyond GDP metrics. So the question is, how do they differ? How can you compare them? What are their
which are the relative strength of GDP and the lack of consensus within beyond GDP. Using this neat causal map I found in an article. It might look a little intimidating and you maybe cannot read anything, but I'll guide you through it in the next part.
Second, recognizing why GDP might not be an appropriate measure for sustainability and how instead inclusive wealth might be more appropriate. And then getting to know all the different types of capital and identifying key economic concepts like externality in a year. But it doesn't actually tell us anything about what's behind that, what is needed to produce that output.
So if you see the first graph over there, I think we saw that on Monday as well. This is all in a US context, by the way. You can see that GDP for that some would pay big amounts of money. So we end up with a huge range of answers. This is not that accurate, but there's a way to actually measure if you take the social cost of carbon. And I have an equation on this first.
Maybe making it also more accessible for the people of the country. And I think that what you just said sounds like reframing to me. And I think that's very important with these kind of issues that because of a sort of frame, maybe it has.
Hello everybody, we're going to present case 5 today, which is about climate change in the financial sector. Very interesting stuff. This is a team. We have Anna, we have Fendi, and we have Randy over here, my colleagues. Considerable floods in Europe, especially in Germany. In Germany, the damage was quite substantial, so we had 180 deaths in the North Rhine-Westphalia region and 30 billion in damages in Germany alone.
Linkages between the financial sector and the climate. And first of all, we define both of them as complex adaptive systems. This means that they are dynamic, they are self-organizing, but also
Goes to decarbonization in financial sectors. Overall, there are 5 main obstacles in this sector that make decarbonization less effective. The first one is investor heterogeneity, and then short-term horizon, radical uncertainty, structural inertia, and the last one is the classic one, it's collective action problem. Let's begin with investor heterogeneity. We are grouping the obstacle in this investor heterogeneity into 6 barriers. The first one is skepticism and lack of consensus. Not all investors agree about the urgency of climate change itself. For some investors, they think that they treat this issue as ESG branding exercise. It's a little bit like a green window dressing. For some others, they really treat it seriously and including this issue into their financial risk, while some others, they only think, well, climate change it's 2050 problem, so if future generation can solve it later, why I should solve it now? So this kind of narrow-minded can be a barrier for climate action. And the second one is narrow screening matter, but they ignore this kind of investment. And then the third one is misguided metric. Some institution it's only focused on scope 1 emission. It is emission from the direct manufacturing process, but they always ignore the important one, which is scope 3. In reality, when one investor sold their dirty asset, another investor, especially investor that not really concerned about the climate issues, they can directly buy its assets. So the divestment has weak impact. It's like you stop smoke, but the cigarette, you give the cigarette to your neighbor. So you can say, oh, I saved the world because I stopped smoking now, but you don't know what happened to cigarette that you give to your neighbor. It is like that.
Recommendation can be done by developing climate stress tests and mandating climate-related financial disclosures. So, as we know, the climate stress test is the tool that can be used by the financial industry.
It's ecosystem services by, for example, constructing an artificial rainforest. Like you're kind of locked into this world where you've lost a certain type of capital and you cannot just turn back.
So a good example of the quasi-option valuating, in this case postponing until gathering more information to lower or completely remove the uncertainty around the decision is more economically beneficial than acting immediately.
Was officially done, the section was open so people could drive on it, and this is irreversible. Now the trees that have been cut cannot come back. So after the 80s, after this, there was actually not much.
I'm gonna talk about the global food prices and why they're so volatile, what factors come in play that intensify these food price spikes, fluctuations, and how do these volatility in prices affect food insecurity.
There is a renewed interest in food stocks. In particular, we can see that the increase of food stocks is led by developing countries, and in particular China, India, and some other countries, thank you to well-established
foodstuffs, encouraging oversupply, creating what became later so-called butter mountains and wine lakes. This policy failed since it became highly expensive for the member countries to continue purchasing surplus.
It's like very, very complex to put it on one map. I just try to do it so you can get a general overview of what's going on, the global scheme, but please don't take a photo of it and it's just for you educational purposes, and also you can see some countries by it. It's mostly because I couldn't access information about
some, like in the cases you have, they are very nice because there was flexibility to postpone, right? You could do this at a later point in time. So in some cases it might not be that you have the possibility to postpone, okay? So that needs to be there, this flexibility. So irreversibility, uncertainty, and flexibility. These are the three criteria. And then using standard cost benefit analysis may give you the wrong result. Okay? The threshold level for immediate action becomes higher. It's not if you do benefit cost ratio of a ratio of 1, but that ratio is larger than 1. And it's substantially larger than 1. And that is what the literature has shown. So, and that is the important thing. So with cost-benefit analysis, if there are reversibility, uncertainty, and flexibility there, standard cost-benefit analysis gives us the wrong result. Okay? So that is the major message.